Today's topic, I feel like, is one that a lot of newbies will have questions about, and it really depends on who you ask for advice on this topic. So today I want to talk about, what do you do if a buyer buys something or they make you an offer and they have absolutely no feedback? This topic seems to be brought up a lot in reselling groups, and I'm in a few of them besides our reselling group, but I looked through and searched zero feedback, and you wouldn't believe how many people have asked this question. And to me, it's like, I don't understand why you're making this question. So one of the ones in, I can't remember what group it was, but they said, I received an offer on this item from a buyer with zero feedback. What should I do? And it's like, well, you either accept the offer or you don't. I don't know why people think about zero feedback as a negative thing. Everybody has to start somewhere, whether you're a buyer or you're a seller. I mean, that's one of the challenges on eBay when you first start, is trying to get your first few reviews. So I feel like a lot of resellers panic if they see zero feedback. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think people are really nervous to get scammed, especially if you're new on eBay. A lot of the questions and the posts in these reselling groups, specifically on Facebook, are about, getting scammed or dealing with scammers or whatever. And there's a lot of transactions that happen on eBay that you don't hear about that are completed successfully with no scamming attempts whatsoever. But you don't hear about those because they're not as no one has questions about them, right? So you're only hearing about the negative stuff and about the scamming attempts and people that have questions. Is this a scam? What should I do? Because they don't know what to do. No one's going to ask about a successful transaction there's no curiosity behind that transaction. So it seems like there's a ton of scammers out there because that's all we're hearing about. It's like when you get a white car, then you start seeing white cars everywhere. It's like that whole thing. So I think a lot of people are nervous to get scammed, especially when they first start on eBay, because they've heard a lot about scamming and they think that this might be a red flag that could potentially lead to getting scammed. But like you said, everyone has to start from somewhere. When you first signed up and created your eBay account, you didn't have any feedback either. You had to build that feedback. My suggestion, when you're new, we've talked about this before, I think, in maybe one other episode, but it's really important to build up that feedback as a buyer and a seller. So you want to buy from accounts that will leave you automatic feedback, buy toothpaste and toothbrushes and just random thing, stuff that you're going to use for your house or personal needs, in order to build up that feedback. So then when you go to sell something or buy something from someone else, you don't have zero feedback, and it doesn't raise the alarm bells, I guess, for people that don't know any better.
Time for another Reseller Toolbox segment. Are you looking to grow your reselling business? List Perfectly is a tool I personally use to cross-list my items. Cross-listing gets my items in front of more buyers, which has helped increase my sales. Whether you're part or full-time reseller, List Perfectly has 3 monthly plans to choose from, starting at $29 a month. Each comes with a 5-day money-back guarantee and endless tutorials to get the most out of the software. You'll also have access to their Facebook group where you can ask questions and connect with other members of the List Perfectly selling community. Use coupon code DAYCHECKERS, all lowercase, to get 30% off your first month. Link to try List Perfectly is in the description or show notes below. I feel like when you do open up a seller account and you start listing your first items, I feel like there's always those accounts that email you and try to get you to take the transaction off of eBay. Mm-hmm. And a lot of sellers will tell other new sellers that. And so I think that's what also isn't helping, is people just get so nervous that they're going to get scammed or that they're going to do something wrong. They're going to lose money at first. And it is something you have to be aware of, but you have to also be smart about it. It's look at the person. How long has the account been open? But even that, I've had people buy from us that have just opened up an account. And that was kind of going to be my next point, was that some people on eBay will buy as a guest, and that person will show up as guest 12345 or their username. They're not even going to have a username. I've had successful transactions with that type of buyer. So I'm never nervous to accept an offer with zero feedback. You also have to think somebody might be coming to eBay because they can't find an item anywhere else. Like there might be a unique item that when they're searching Google, then it pulls up that eBay listing. They're taken to eBay and they might not have a buyer account. So they will open it up and they could be buying as a guest. And I feel like you have to give buyers the benefit of the doubt. Not all buyers are looking to scam you. Not everybody is a bad buyer. So you can't assume just because you see that zero feedback that that person is going to scam you.
Yeah, definitely. And, as long as you're following the rules and going by eBay's guidelines, they're going to have your back. You'll be protected if anything happens that is sort of scammy. They're, if you reach out to them and you let them know, they're going to look into it for you, and they will protect you regardless of maybe some of the things, again, that you hear or see about in the Facebook groups that are out there. eBay does protect their sellers. Otherwise, they wouldn't have any sellers on their platform. They protect them to a certain extent. They also have to protect their buyers as well. And because we're in these selling groups on Facebook and you hear about transactions that might have gone sideways slightly, and people just kind of pile on to the negativity. We've talked about this in previous episodes as well. Like negativity breeds more negativity. And, eBay doesn't protect their buyers. eBay doesn't have their buyers' backs and like pounding on the table, right? Like they do, they must, they have to as a selling, platform, they have to a certain extent. So if you're, again, following those rules and the guidelines that eBay sets in place, you shouldn't have a problem. So if you do accept the offer, it leads down a path that you think it's going to lead to some sort of like a scam attempt, then you can reach out to them and eBay should have your back.
Yeah, ironically, do you remember that guest wallet that we sold? And it was we sent it out, we shipped it out, and it was a beautiful like pink guest wallet. And as soon as it got delivered, the woman messaged us that her teenage daughter had bought it without her permission. And she had just realized it once the package showed up. And so she didn't want to open a return because she would have had to pay for shipping, because our shipping policy is 30 days buyer pays shipping. So she knew she was going to have to pay for shipping. So she just had it shipped back to us. So it got back to us a couple days ago. We see that it's sold. And then shortly after, eBay messaged us and said, we automatically canceled an order for your protection. The person that was buying it, which it happened to be that wallet again, must have had like a stolen credit card or something like that. So eBay definitely has things in place to protect the sellers. And I had not seen that before where they actually canceled it. I mean, it didn't even show paid or anything. We just saw that it sold. And then immediately we got that message. So that was something new that I haven't seen before. But I also think you can't let that fear of being scammed deter you from making a sale, because in the end, we are all on the platform to sell and to make money. So sometimes you have to accept somebody with zero feedback, and 9 times out of 10, nothing's going to happen. And ironically, that same post I was looking at, all the zero feedback questions in that particular reselling group, and a lot of the comments that other resellers said was, it's not the people with zero feedback that are scamming. It's the ones with 10 to 15 feedback, because sometimes those scammers can get those fake feedbacks. That's where I'm like, I just think it's nonsense to worry that a buyer has zero feedback. You should just accept an offer, ship the item, and do what your job is on eBay as a seller.
All right, guys, that's a wrap on today's episode. Thank you so much for listening to the Paycheck to Daycheck Reselling Podcast.
Anything we mentioned in this episode will be linked down below in the show notes or description down below.
Be sure to share this episode with anyone you think it will help, and follow us on social media at P2D Podcast.
Thanks again for listening. Keep working towards that Daycheck.